Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. The cold spell, which is going to impact the UK and Ireland this week, has now started, and in this video we're going to look at number one, how cold it will get, but number two, and probably more importantly for most of you watching, the risks of snow, the different areas they might affect, when, and also why. So we'll get into quite a lot of detail covering the cold and snow threats from this week. I thought I'd just start off though by quickly showing you the radar, and you can see now the cold spell has officially started. Like I said, we've got snow showers piling in to northern Scotland, and some of them are fairly strong as well. You can see the bright colours on the radar, so possibly some decent accumulations already today in places across the northern coast of Scotland. If we first look at the models though, just to get a good idea of what's going on, you can see on the air mass chart, or this is showing the temperature at 1.5 kilometres above the ground, so this basically indicate the air mass. But you can see we've already got our dark blue colours across northern Scotland, hence the snow showers there. And as a reminder, we're generally looking at temperatures below -5 to support snow. And you can see as we move through Monday, it gets further south, now covering Northern Ireland and Northern England. And then you can see by Tuesday, all of the UK and Ireland is now covered by that -5 line. So it's progressing further south, and so by Tuesday, things are going to be feeling pretty chilly. We've got a northerly wind that might be strong, especially along the east coast, and given the temperatures, it looks like it could feel quite cold. And if I show you the actual temperature forecast, just to get an idea of what's going on through this week, I'll just do it quickly. You can see for Monday, or at least overnight, you can see temperatures widely below 0 degrees across the north tonight. And then tomorrow, we're likely to see maximum temperatures widely sub-zero across the north, mild in the south and southwest, but even across parts of southern England in the low digits there. And then, of course, we'll turn milder for a time on Tuesday, but then notice how things get properly cold and very widespread cold as well, going widely below zero overnight across the UK and Ireland into next week, with some places staying sub-zero all day, even across the south. So, like I said, that cold air is going to infiltrate quite far south, and it looks to be quite intense as well, especially for the time of year. You can see approaching the -10 value. I don't think it's going to reach us properly, but getting close, especially across the north. If we look at the temperature anomaly, this does give you an idea just how cold it is, widely more than 4 to 5 degrees below the average. And this is going to be really important in driving the most kind of confident snow risk, or the highest certainty snow risk, which is the risk of snow showers. And that is because, as I discussed last video, the temperature difference between the very cold upper levels and the relatively mild sea surface, around 8 to 12 degrees depending on where you are, that creates instability. And if you imagine, let me draw a quick diagram here. If this is the surface, if this is the cold upper levels, that's warm, that's cold, so the warm air rises. As it rises, it cools and condenses and forms clouds, and those clouds are convection and form snow showers essentially. So all throughout the week, which is looking to be until around Saturday, you can see, I'll talk more about the end of the cold spell later, but I'll just say now, until Saturday, when we've got that cold air in place, we're going to have a very omnipresent snow shower risk, especially across the northern coasts of Scotland, Northern Ireland and Ireland, and also the east coast of England, and then down along the kind of Irish Sea coasts as well. And potentially we're looking at some significant accumulations from these snow showers. If I show you the UKV run, now don't focus too much on the other things because I'll talk about those shortly, but if I just run that through, you can see how persistent those snow showers are initially across Scotland and then further south, and also they're fairly heavy as well, but you can see after Tuesday, they do get further south, then spreading it across the east coast of England, into Ireland and Northern Ireland, and then more heavy across Ireland and Northern Ireland, Wales, and then even areas further south, northwest England as well, and they continue across Scotland. And if you look at Scotland alone, no frontal snow has occurred here on this particular model run, but you're looking at, you can't see that, sorry, but you're looking at still 30 to 40 centimetres of snow here, especially across high ground, more widely, maybe 1 to 10 centimetres. But I mean, almost all of the northern half of Scotland is likely to see falling snow. Also across parts of Northern Ireland and Ireland, and then especially across the high ground, more snow is likely. And then also, just if you generally draw a line around the coasts, something like that, probably something like that. And then for Ireland, probably something like that. Anywhere in these zones here is at risk of snow, essentially. And also, it's really worth noting that the models underdo the number one, how far these snow showers can get inland, and also number two, how intense they are. And we've seen that quite a lot of the times in the past. I mean, this is just a couple blobs of light snow here on this model, where in reality we know it's kind of heavy showers. So I would, if anything, add more onto the kind of expected totals from snow showers. Probably not more than this, having said that. But really, anywhere in the UK is at risk of seeing at least a flurry. Now, that does mean just a flurry. Areas inland across Ireland, and then especially this sort of zone across parts of southern England, you're very unlikely to see more than just one or two light snow showers. But that snow showers, the risk of snow, are present, as I'll talk about shortly. But that's kind of the most highest confidence risk, and that's because we know when there is a temperature contrast between the cold air and the sea, snow showers, they just happen. It's just kind of a fact. The more interesting snow risk initially, and this could actually be quite significant, is this little low here, which is now moving to the southeast. Actually, let's see if we can see it on the satellite. Has it developed yet? Yeah, so likely out here somewhere. This is our low that we're going to be watching through Monday and then especially into Tuesday, and you'll see why. It's riding this temperature contrast here, and of course low pressure, the air is rising, so you get precipitation. And as this precipitation develops more widely and bumps into the cold air on the northern side, what happens? It turns to snow. And if we go through that loop there, you can see it just slides down along the temperature gradient and then develops quite nicely, but not before it's dropped a fairly significant amount of snow. And if we look on the GFS model here, you can see all that purple on the northern flank indicating snowfall. Now let's zoom in and take a look at the different models, because I said yesterday there were a few different solutions and the uncertainty was very high. Now uncertainty is still quite high, but it has come down from yesterday and the days before. We can rule out a couple of things, and that is a northerly track. That's very unlikely to happen now. So southern Scotland and central Scotland, even into northern Scotland like some models, the snow is unlikely to be focused there. That also means the risk of very strong damaging winds across the east of England has gone. We're not going to see that, though there could be some fairly strong gusts across the far east, Norfolk and the east coast, maybe seeing gusts around 40 to 50 miles an hour. That's nothing crazy. We can't fully rule out a track to the south, which would maybe bring the snow risk focused across the central Midlands. But currently, the most likely scenario is this track through central England and then heavy snow on the northern flank across Northern Ireland and then through northern England and parts of the Midlands as well, possibly into eastern England as well. It's also worth taking a note of the orientation of the low. Notice how it's kind of quite northwest to southeast orientated, kind of along a line like this. This is helpful because it doesn't mean the cold air is not, it basically allows the cold air to be properly in place, and the mild air does not undercut the cold air, which can happen if the low is kind of approaching too much like that. So that's positive. In terms of the exact areas seeing snowfall and the totals, well, this is a graphic I made and put on my Twitter. I always forget you can't annotate it, but essentially anywhere in the white zone is where I think the current extent of the snow risk is. I.e., any snow that does occur, I think will occur in this white zone. So if you're outside it, I'm afraid the snow risk where you are is probably quite small. There's a very possible that it could extend slightly further south. We'll have to see what the models do overnight and into Monday, because like I said, the uncertainty is still high. And of course, I will do an update if we see the area shifting further south. And then, so that's kind of what the white means. And also, like I said, it's possible there, and it's likely in a few places. We just can't highlight super well exactly where at the moment. For example, could extend into parts of northern Wales. The blue zone, the light blue zone, is currently where I think snow is likely. But accumulation, we can't be too sure on, especially areas further south. I'm not too sure, but generally, accumulation is going to happen somewhere in the zone. We just can't say super precisely where. Now, this dark blue region is where I think accumulating snow is likely, and I also think the snow will be significant. This actually might extend further south, and I'll show you why on the models. But if we take a look at some of the more high-resolution outputs, such as the icon, you can see there's our low there. Notice the kind of region that stays in the cold air the entire time, and it's this kind of region here from the kind of north central Midlands up into parts of northern England, and then focusing around the Pennines. And you can see how the cold air, it never is removed. Some places start off mild and end up cold, so this area here starts off mild, ends up cold. Some areas start off cold, end up mild, as you can see there, but this zone is really getting the best of both worlds, which means it will be snowing the longest there. And if you play through the model, you can see exactly that happens. So snow across Northern Ireland, focused across high ground there, and also parts of Ireland, a few centimetres possible. But then really notice this is the area we're looking at here. This zone in red especially, and then you can see the mild air undercuts across further east. And then potentially, as that low pulls away to the southeast, we could see, as the cold air comes back down from the north, potentially the risk of some light snow across areas further south. It's not going to settle if that does happen. The settling snow will be further north, where it's a lot heavier. Now, in terms of the totals, also one thing I forgot to mention, the wind here, in this case, is coming out from the east. And if you look at the terrain, I mean, you can't see it super well, but here are the Pennines, the mountain range here. And essentially, as the wind comes in from the east, it runs into the Pennines, and essentially you've got orographic snowfall going on, which is going to enhance the snowfall rates on this side of the Pennines. So especially Leeds, you're looking at quite significant snowfall. I'll look at totals in a second. On the flip side of that, the area just to the kind of in the shadow, the snow shadow, so areas to the west, are likely to see reduced snowfall totals. So this region here. So unfortunately, parts of Manchester into kind of northwest England and Merseyside are unlikely to see as significant snowfall. If we take a look at the forecast totals, though, you can see potentially in this pocket here we're looking at more than 5 to 10 centimetres fairly widely. Some models actually go higher, and I'm inclined to agree with the higher total. This is the arpegge, which actually has the snow risk being more widespread further south. So like I said, there's a lot of scenarios on the table. This would be very good for North Wales into the Midlands, but still it's this main area that's the bullseye once again. And if this were to occur, we'd be looking at 10 to even 20 centimetres fairly widely. This would be very, very significant. A lot of these areas would love to see that kind of snowfall, and especially across high ground, we like to see the peaks. So perhaps Snowdonia seeing a lot of snow there, and also parts of the Pennines, like I said, potentially 10 to even 15 centimetres of snow. You can see European models showing fairly similar thing. Definitely the North Midlands favoured northwards at this time. Possible the risk could turn further south. Like I said, I'll update you if it does. Let's see if the Arome is out yet. No, not quite. The Arome model has not got the it's not got the range to show it, but you can see, likely to see similar areas, Pennines favoured for snow. So that's the main current threat of snow, as in the one we've got best confidence that's going to be the most significant, and that's going to be on Monday night into Tuesday morning. Like I said, a risk of snow further south on Tuesday morning, but Monday night to Tuesday morning is the peak of it. So it could be some problems, though it's likely to avoid peak times, so I'm not too concerned. So then from Tuesday onwards, we're fully submerged in that cold air until Saturday, and that's going to give rise to a greater, more widespread snow risk. But on the flip side of that, it's more widespread. We can't quite focus exactly where and when. And that is because the risk depends on, number one, snow showers, like I said, but also small features, small disturbances in the flow. Examples here, don't take these literally, but these are the kind of things that we're looking at. They're small, the models can't resolve them very well, which means they're hard to forecast, but where they do occur, they can locally bring fairly significant totals. And I'm fairly optimistic on the occurrence of these. Number one, they often rely on convection, which is the same process I talked about when talking about the snow showers, or showers are convection essentially. And when the atmosphere is very unstable, the convection is enhanced, and so we're naturally going to see a lot of these developing and likely moving over the UK. It's just that the models right now can't quite see that in a sense. Another thing to look out for is if you look at the 500 millibar pattern, which essentially gives you an idea of the upper level kind of things at play, the rising motion, which can be very important for precipitation. You can see quite a few disturbances or shortwaves. Okay, I'll just skip through. You can see quite a few disturbances or shortwaves, which are essentially very small areas of lift and vertical motion which can allow snow to develop. You see one there. Don't take the locations too literally, but notice how we get quite a few. If I run, I mean the loop, to be honest, is not really working very well, but notice how if I go through the model run, you can see quite a few impact the UK. There's another on Wednesday morning, so this will potentially turn into a snow event there. Like I said, the models don't resolve this particularly well. And also, to be honest, okay, I'm going to refresh the page. Hopefully that will solve the issue. Yeah, there we go. So you can see, if I run through this loop, look at all the kind of bendiness and the curviness in the lines, and also the pockets of pink showing up. And those are our shortwave troughs, and those are the kind of things that are going to bring the surprise snow threats that the models can't resolve. Now, there are a couple that are being resolved at the moment. This would be an example here on Wednesday across the south. This would also be an example here on Thursday across the north. But like I said, the models, they just can't really pick these up very well. So don't take this as literally. This is probably not going to happen, this exact low being placed exactly there. But what I'm essentially trying to say is we know generally we're going to have the risk of these anywhere. We can't say exactly where, we just know somewhere. And by Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday, we'll probably have a good idea, and then I'll be able to update you and say exactly what's going to happen. You can see there's another one moving down the kind of east coast of Scotland. In terms of the kind of days to look out for, we've got one on Wednesday morning, a shortwave trough that is, across the kind of northwestern areas. So I don't want to say anything's going to happen yet, but if we look on Wednesday morning, on the current model output, you can see, yeah, there does look to be some sort of feature there. That's something to look out for. Then we turn to the next one, not particularly notable, but then the most notable one happens on Thursday. There you can see. So that's possibly another one to look out for. And if we take a look at the models at that time, what do we see? Yeah, so actually the models do not show anything huge, which is slightly unusual because with this kind of stronger feature, you probably would expect something to be there. So I'm not quite sure why the models are not, and that just goes back to my point. They are hard to resolve and they're hard to forecast. Now, there may be another thing that you're wondering about having looked through the models, and that is this low on Wednesday into Thursday. This is a low confidence, but also, in my opinion, low risk forecast. And that is essentially this low here on the GFS slides just to the south of us, but it develops a frontal band into the southeast, which brings snow. Now, the UKV had this as well, and I'll show you that there. The UKV had this as well on the across the south on Thursday morning. However, I just don't think this is quite likely. This would be a significant snow event for the south, but take a look at all the other models. For example, the Icon has that. I mean, actually, I said that the Icon does have snow across the far south, but the low itself is a lot further south. If we take a look at the Canadian model, again, that low is a lot further south. And if we take a look at the European model, that low is even further south. So really, the GFS and the UKV are in the minority. They are, if you want, overdoing it. It's probably not going to be as far north. And we know that history says these loads tend to trend further south over time. So even if the models were showing snow right here now, I would be concerned that this would trend further south anyway. So personally, I don't think this is going to happen, but I'm just saying it because it's something to watch out for on Thursday, on top of these general features that we've been talking about. Now, I want to get more specific to a couple areas right now, and that area we can zoom in on is number 1, Northwest England and the Midlands, and number 2, Wales into the southwest. And that is because of something known as, or number 1, a Cheshire Gap streamer, and number 2, a Pembrokeshire dangler. So essentially, these are just kind of the meteorological names for certain snow events that develop in certain conditions. The number 1 is the Cheshire Gap streamer here. This would occur likely when we get a northwesterly flow into the Irish Sea, which we'll forecast to by the models on Wednesday and Thursday, and you can see that here. There's a northwesterly wind. It's going over the sea, picking up moisture, the instability, and then you get these showers developing. So this corridor from northwest England into the Midlands, I think, has got a fairly high chance of seeing snow on Wednesday, Thursday. And that, like I said, the high-resolution models, they can't really pick up on that risk super well. But like I said, you have to kind of assume they are underestimating the threat, and in my opinion we're potentially going to see some accumulating snow in this region on Wednesday night into Thursday, and then I'll update you of course as well. And that actually, I haven't explained properly why that does occur, because of the temperature difference, but also because the land is essentially causing the wind to converge into this zone here, and that convergence, same as thunderstorms, causes lift, and then you get storms developing, and that drops snow essentially. So that's definitely something to look out for. I also mentioned Wales and the southwest of England, and that's because another type of similar event can happen, and that's called a Pembrokeshire dangler. I don't think we've quite got a proper one here, but essentially you can get the shape of the land can cause convergence in a rough zone like that, and I literally just said it a few seconds ago, convergence leads to lift, leads to snow showers developing, and the other models show this as well. If I play through, yeah, you can see that's a nice example here, and this could occur as early as Tuesday. The Cheshire Gap is more of a northwesterly. This is more of a northerly that we have to look out for. So that's potentially going to be quite interesting, and that's likely to continue perhaps into Thursday as well. And then actually take a look at this. This is the GFS. I don't usually want to take the runs as verbatim, but I'm fairly confident that's going to happen if we get northwesterly, which is a fairly decent risk of snow extending all the way from northwest England down into parts of the Midlands, maybe even southeast. I think that's unlikely, but like I said, that's looking like a decent snow risk as well. Now, in terms of the end of this cold weather spell, if we zoom out, you can see that by Saturday we are showing a big low pressure system pushing up from the south, and look at all those mild air coming in. Some people have suggested it might happen after this, but I think it's very likely that the cold air is gone by Saturday and Sunday. Potentially we're going to see a transient snow event as that breakdown occurs, i.e. we'll get snow turning to rain, but then from the end of November onwards, we're likely to return to those westerlies. So unsettled again, a lot milder. It's going to feel really mild, and that's in line with the MJO phases 1 and 2. However, if we take a look at the European mean surface pressure charts, there's a lot of pink going on, and that's generally a good sign. Depends where the high pressure is, but above average pressure blocking can be a good sign for cold. Now, I don't want to get too into it at the moment because making forecasts at this range is really uncertain, but there is the possibility that the cold could return as we go into December. The GFS run here shows it, but literally never trust the end of a GFS run. It will never happen exactly as it says it will. This is just an example, and I will do a video more in depth looking at why December might be not too bad for the cold lovers. So look out for that. Essentially, that's all of this week covered. It was quite in detail, looked at quite a few threats, but I hope you found it informative, and thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.